Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Share Your Grin. Today we're going to be talking about an amazing, fantastic, I seen it when it was like episode 1 came out and I was like, this is going to be fire. It's going to be amazing, but I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, in this video we're going to be covering Jujutsu Kaisen, talking about how fantastic it was, talking about speculation on whether we're going to get a season 2, and almost certainly we are, but it's whether it could be, you know, in 2 years or 4 or 5 years, which hopefully that isn't the case. But yes, anyways, so we're going to talk about if there's going to be a season 2, and then we're going to talk about basically where season 2 is going to go in vague terms. That way I'm not spoiling too much stuff for you, but you guys get some clarity about where we're going and what to be excited for. And somewhere in there I'll tell you guys how much I love the series, because it was great. It was fantastic, wonderful, and I realized the manga is equally as fantastic and wonderful. But ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Jujutsu Kaisen. But alas, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the biggest thing that I think everyone, when they finished season 2, was like, where's more? I want more. This is fantastic. The fight scenes. Ooh, I want to know where this main character goes, and honestly, if the main thing and overarching thread of the story is going to lead to. Let's talk about if there's going to be a season 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen. Now, the good news, and by the way, this is a fantastic article that I found that really, usually like you gotta like get in the weeds of Reddit to try to figure out what the hell's happening with the show, or how did it sell, all this bullshit. Okay, so let me try to summarize a lot of this. So there is going to be something called Jujutsu Kaisen Season 0, or Jujutsu Kaisen 0. What is this, Grin? It's a movie, so we're getting a movie, and it's a movie that's based on a prequel, basically. So I do believe there's an awesome, it shows basically what we're going to kind of be looking at when it comes to this movie, this right here. So this is basically the movie, it seems. In the anime itself, a little bit of a spoiler, but they mention this guy, or Gojo mentions this guy that's overseas. This is his story in this big event that happened before the events of the main thing that we watched in the anime. But I digress. It's basically a prequel story. Gojo's going to be involved in it pretty heavily, and all that stuff. So, a movie coming. When will we get it? Who knows? Us filthy Westerners, who knows? It could be a while, but it's apparently confirmed release date in Japan. So that's good news for us. Now, again, will there be a season 2 of this fantastical show? So all of this that you might be seeing over there is basically saying Jujutsu Kaisen popped off in a big way. And the manga already was wildly popular, all this shit, but the anime hit a whole different level. It beat, like, its records for selling copies of Blu-rays is beating My Hero. It's beaten a lot of people. Also, for like the favorite on Crunchyroll site, it topped the chart, or it was second, I believe, to, for whatever reason, Black Clover. Black Clover is like wildly popular in every part of the world. For I maybe it's the art style. I like Black Clover, but like Jesus Christ, the fact that it's so fucking popular is hilarious to me. But especially with some people hate the shit out of it. So it's just funny to me to see that show fucking pop off. Anyways, yeah, so Jujutsu Kaisen followed really close behind it, but this is, like, again, My Hero is not on the, even like in the running up, more or less. Like, there's other shows that are established to be worth it, good, valued, but it just tells you how valuable Jujutsu Kaisen is as a property, how many people love it and are watching it and are engaging in it and are buying it. Even, like, that's the thing, people could watch something, but the Blu-ray sales get companies to move. Unless they're Attack on Titan, which this article mentions, where they're saying that hopefully the people that make Jujutsu Kaisen will not do an Attack on Titan where they had this super huge bump of success, but then they waited 4 years to release something and people kind of got over it. So probably won't happen. I couldn't see that happening just with how successful it is. But if they want to make this an ongoing series, or I don't know, like a Black Clover or something, they're going to need to like have infrastructure to go around that, so that takes time apparently. So probably, this is just me, but probably don't expect it for 1.5 years. I probably would say that. So 1.5 years, so maybe middle of 2021 or 2022, sorry, middle of 2022, we might get something. And because there's a movie, they also might be running into development of season 2, so that when the movie releases, maybe only like 3 months after the movie releases, then it will take take flight, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so no one has confirmed that there's going to be a second season, but that's also because this show is fairly new. But again, read this whole thing if you want. It basically just says what I just said, which is the Jujutsu Kaisen sold astonishingly well. Yeah, and this right here, this is huge. The average Blu-ray or DVD sale for Jujutsu Kaisen reached almost 30,000 copies sold, which puts it in the top 50 best-selling seasonal series in history. The show did really well, unless the developers are just kind of assholes. They're just like, fucking no. And they're like, I don't know why. Everything. Yeah, we're going to talk about the show. It makes no sense to do that. Anyway, yeah, it's likely that we have to wait for Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, could be several years. But those high stream numbers, the buying of the actual copies of the Blu-ray, etc., all add up to probably being, well, so it's like, don't shoot the messenger. It may take 4 years, all right, but God in heaven, is it a bad idea for that to happen? But also with the success, with the like popularity, and also it seems like the development cycle is pretty good. Again, they pumped out 24 episodes. Now we don't know how long they were working on that beforehand. But yeah, I think the odds are we're probably going to get the movie in 2021, and then maybe at the very end of 2020, or sorry, we're gonna get a movie in 2022 or something, something like that, and then at the end of 2022 or early 2023, that's when we'll get another season. And then at that point, this is the good news, is that at that point they're probably going to serialize it, so they're gonna make it like consistent, continuous seasons, maybe with a couple months of a gap, and then we're back at it, which is cool. Because there is a lot of source material, and apparently the man that makes the manga is prepared to like churn it out. He says he doesn't want to take any more than 2 years to finish the series, and he's already halfway done. So lots of content and manga for them to cover. So yeah, again, at this point, I honestly think what it is, and this is just like my inside marketing baseball kind of weird nonsense, I almost am certain it's no, like people expected the anime to do well, but not like beating My Hero and shit kind of do well. You know what I mean? So I feel like they were like, oh shit, and the guy who probably makes the manga is probably like, maybe we could renegotiate some shit, because this is hot. I didn't think it was gonna be this hot. So here we go. And I feel like that's a lot of what it is. It seems like the success of it is a little astonishing, to where all parties involved are like, so now there's a lot more money happening. Let's try to make a deal. And now the like successes and all these things. Also, the manga is still popping off and is still super stupid successful too. So I think they're kind of used to this, but I digress. Bottom line, the question we asked at the beginning, will Jujutsu Kaisen have a season 2? Almost certainly. It's too successful for them to not, and there's a boatload of source material. The only question is they probably want to continue to make seasons, so they have to build the infrastructure or the team to do that. And also this article does a fantastic job about pointing out that the team that made Jujutsu Kaisen also is making or helping in like Attack on Titan's final season and things like that. So again, all things that may lead us to be like, okay, it might be a year away, maybe a year and a half. That would be business-wise and like hype-wise the most sense, because about like a year or 2 years, 3 years is when hype starts to just kind of die off, which is, you know, or even earlier than that, depending on what happens. But the movie should kind of sate people's urges to give them that window for the team that made the first season to kind of do Attack on Titan, help in that regard, and then fully devote themselves, or find a team that is willing to devote themselves to this show that's clearly making the money and is successful and is fantastic. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, so will there be a season 2? Almost certainly. It's just a question of when we'll get it and the frequency and the quickness of us getting it. But you know, hopefully it's not an Attack on Titan season 1 thing where it takes so long to get another season and hype is dead by the time it gets there. But unlike Attack on Titan season 2, this is just a show that's nothing but profit. I don't have to worry about getting my emotional baggage all fucked up. So yeah. Now, my friends, before we answer the third question, which is essentially what the hell is going to happen after the events of season 1, not going to spoil too much. I'm just going to give you guys an idea of where it's going to go. And yeah, but before we do that, I just gotta talk to you about this show, my dude. First of all, I called it. Well, I know what I like, so I'm just an asshole. But I remember telling you guys on stream when we were just hanging out, I was like, this show, dude, I've seen like 2 or 3 AMVAs of it, and I'm already sold. It just looks like the animation's sick. It also looks like the fighting just has this fucking weird like action kind of floaty / like punches in at the right moments, and also the art style and shit just looks wild. Like it's a whole, and I think it's the whole reason why the show is so successful is because it handles like fight scenes and the martial arts and the movement kind of so weird, and it almost reminds me in a weird way of like this show that I used to watch called Ruby, at least the first season when Monty Ohm or whatever was directing it. What do you call it? It was basically just like you're able to see these characters move in these pretty synchronous ways, like just perfectly lined up their moves, and it was kind of insane. And this show kind of does that, except without the kind of weird 3D model clunk, and it just kind of nothing but profit. And it's incredibly interesting to see visually. I think the show is like a 10. So fucking good. Anyways, so yeah. Basically, I've seen a lot of potential in the show right at the cuff. I'm sure a lot of people did, just because I've seen some of the fight scenes and I was like, oh, that looks amazing. Now, all they have to do is not fuck up the main character, or at least make him bearable to put up with, and then I can full send it. Okay, so, I forgot about this one thing. I always like to do this. Some people just tune into these because they don't want to share your grin. You're coming into this weird box of me talking about things I like. And also trying to be valuable to people who are curious about things that I was curious in, like whether there's going to be a season 2, and diving into articles to try to find out what that is. I digress. What is Jujutsu Kaisen? First of all, I probably should have started there. So Jujutsu Kaisen is this really awesome kind of show. It's like it's like a shonen that doesn't fuck around with shonen tropes, but not it does one thing that's incredible that we'll talk about. But anyways, basically the pitch of the show is that there's this kid who has an incredible athletic prowess. He in the world of Jujutsu Kaisen is basically where there are curses, and then there are like sorcerers or sorceresses or whatever, or shamans that basically dispel the curses. And yeah, curses are built up by malice and bad energy, or bad feelings, hatred, sorrow, depression. All these things makes a curse. Jiu-Jitsu sorcerers need to basically eradicate said things, and our main weirdly strong, like superhuman level strength main character, it just so happens to find himself in an altercation and ends up eating one of these really powerful cursed items. And this all happens in season 1 or episode 1, so it's not like I'm super spoiling anything. This is what sets up the show. Anyways, so the main character inadvertently eats one of these cursed items. It's a finger. Now it turns out this finger is a part of a set of 20 fingers from basically it's like the Demon King. It's like this super overlord tyrannical level of like monster god. Who people killed back in the day, or no, they don't think they killed him. I think he just somehow decided to die, or I'm not sure. They don't really go into that, but they slice off his fingers and they can't destroy them, so they just basically hide them around the world. And the main kind of plot point that's going through the story is that the main character, by eating one of the cursed items, he gets cursed power and is able to save the day, but in doing so he becomes the vessel of a reincarnation of the said Demon King. Yes, it's a story that's kind of been done before, but if you're not too big into hating spoilers, then wait a bit and we'll spoil everything for you, or not everything, we'll just talk about some shit. But I digress. That is the whole thing. Is now this guy who is incredible, superhuman strength, all these things, has a demon god or whatever in his body, and now he gets a choice between either dying or living, to eat all of the fingers to basically reincarnate the Demon King so that they can kill the Demon King once and for all. So now it's his journey also just to become a Jiu-Jitsu sorcerer, just to kind of be able to kill the creatures protecting the rings, or who have gained strength from the fingers. Ugh. Also, if it's not a spoiler alert, the main big Demon King guy had 4 arms, so 20 fingers. Anyways, yeah. But yes, that is not a great sell, but a good sell of Jujutsu Kaisen. That's the main story points. It's big into action. It's kind of a shonen, so it's a character being pretty shit. Well, it being pretty okay, being a specimen at the very least, and then being able to get stronger and stronger. And also they do a really good job at showcasing these other characters and also the world of the show incredibly well. They do a lot of world building passively, subtly, and it's really interesting. But yes, that is the show. That's my suggestion to you to go watch it. It's on Crunchyroll. Fucking gun it. I would highly suggest the show. At the very least, it's hard to walk away from the show and not be like, the fight scenes are pretty dope. Okay, golly, it's like turn off your brain action nonsense, where for whatever reason people still watch Fast and the Furious movie 20 or something, and it's just because it's nothing but explosions and serotonin straight to the brain. So enjoy but there's also more there if you want to take it. You may not be into it, but it's there. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, now let's get into spoilers, okay? Okay, so first things first, right at the cuff, man. I don't know if I like the fucking setup, because it's kind of it makes me a little like, makes me do one of these. Do one of the, wait, what is happening? And the setup I'm talking about is in the first episode. They're like, hey, by the way, we're gonna constantly talk about death, and we're gonna have this grandpa that has like no family members around him die, and for his grandson to basically have been witness or he's seen his grandpa basically have no one visit him but him. And his grandpa's kind of crabby and all these things. Basically, the show hints at like this facet of death or like living and life having meaning in the way that you live it. So that's an element that the main character is just seeing his old grandpa die, and then his grandpa says, hey, when you die, try to be surrounded with people that love you and care about you and do things that matter. Try to make friendships so that you're not like me, who has no one, who has nothing. Don't be selfish, because that's where I got, and this is what I have to show for. No one, nothing. So don't be like me. And in that, there will be an honorable death, because you will know that you're leaving behind. You've affected so many people in a positive light that you mean enough to them to want to go and to see you off. And then the main character gets infected with like a life leech or like a life parasite that's like, by the way, you're gonna die at some point. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, yeah, maybe the main character is just like an asshole, right? Maybe the main character is just a hella douche, okay? Maybe he's super not likable, maybe he's just kind of a shit. But no, because of the grandpa and him saying, hey, try to find the wonder in the world and the kindness in others and try to be there for other people, he's just the sweetest, kindest individual that you'll meet. He's super upbeat, super outgoing. He's like the primary character where people say, the good die young. Well, fuck off, because that's exactly what they're setting up, and it just makes me want to crawl my skin, because I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, because they've set up the worst band-aid. It's not a band-aid, it's like duct tape. It's like the strongest, it's like glue on duct tape on a hairy arm, to rip that shit off, because they've set up the underlying rule of death being a concurrent factor in this. So also the main character has a demon in him that he's under some sort of weird contract with like a god, Gojo, who's basically saying, I'm gonna kill you when you have all the fingers in your body. But also, I don't know, Gojo I think could probably pull some weird shit off, probably has an underlying plan. But also I feel like it won't matter, because I feel like the underlying thread of the show is like, okay, so yeah, main character is basically going to die. For sure, almost. Like, it's one of those underlying things where you're like, oh no. And they may change some shit, we'll see. But the main character, the whole show has to do with dying and an honorable death. At least that's what season 1 was big on. So I'm assuming that carries forward in the manga. Could not, but we'll see. And then there's this other underlying thread, that the main character has been told by his grandpa to make as many friends as possible and to try to be as generous as you possibly can, so that when you die, people that you affected in a positive light can be around you. You can be around the people that loved you, because you mattered, and etc. So that's the other thread. And the other one is that the main character is incredibly lovely. The main character is, because maybe of his grandpa, and actually I think he was like that beforehand, because he interacted with his like club friends in a great way too. But regardless, this sets up the show to basically be like, okay, here's this main character making everyone fall in love with him, and everyone would probably agree that like he's the last person that should die. He's the most he's the most hopeful for the future. He's kind. He would throw away his life for anybody. Also, he he's a hard worker. Like they just keep piling on these things of like, this is the last guy that should fucking die. And you know it's probably going to lead there, and I think it all is probably going to be for like a beautiful moment, so I'm not as mad about it. And also they're pretty upfront with you, like, hey, this is going to be something that happens, and who knows, it could not. They could do like a 180, but I feel like it's pretty on the, like they'd have to do a lot. Like it seems like every time there's a situation at play, it all is contributing to this underlying factor of the main character being okay with death. And okay with him having to die. And I also think that, like, I heard in this article that I just read, it was a lot of it was talking about how it was like talking about the creator of the game, of the thing. I don't want to spoil things too much. We'll get into that at the end, a little bit of like future spoilers. But and this is kind of something that you can notice even if you didn't know this. But the author of the manga talked about how one of the inspirations for the story was the Bible, like what I would assume would be Jesus. A person taking all the sins of humanity, all the cursed energy which comes from this big bad guy, and dying, so that everyone else can have a happier life. And yeah, I guess that actually makes a lot more sense now, because the main character is like wildly selfless, and like, yeah, just like all of these things where like, oh, the development of this character is kind of being made in a way for him to be this kind of like godlike, like morally perfect kind of like, okay, I'll take everything, I'll take it all on, I'll take all of the sins on of these people, and it'll end with me, and maybe you'll get a reset or a chance to thrive. And again, I think it's going to culminate in a moment where like he's surrounded with so many people that love him, and he's kind of like, well, I did it. Bye guys. And I just know it's going to be one of those moments where you're like like they talk about like Attack on Titans going on right now, and people are just fucking bent, who read the manga, which is fair because it's a rough sell of the ending. But this is one of those ones where I feel like it's going to be a happy cry, but also like a little bit sad, but also a happy cry. Mind you, I don't know any of this. The author could be like, and fuck it, it's a happy ending, or it's like a nice ending. But I feel like it's probably gonna play into that a lot, where it seems like I think every single couple episodes there's a moment where they make the main character the most wonderful, like super cheerful, bright, like a light that is just like exuding positivity and loveliness even to the most like sorrow-filled or like broken people in the world, and like helping them repair themselves and feel great about it. Yeah, like, and I think it's a testament to like there in the first 2 or 3 episodes he meets the one girl who's kind of like Brazen or like the tsundere kind of weird vibe. We're just kind of like a angry girl vibe. Regardless, in the first, he only meets her for like a day and a half, and yet she's like overwhelmingly emotionally sad that she lost him, even though she didn't know him that well. The small bit that she did know him made her probably upset that because a good person died, a person worthy of life, and a person who, more worthy than life than some people who are cruel and evil, ended up dying, and that's not fair, you know. And also another thing that we'll get into that probably when we talk about spoiler stuff. But yeah, as of the main series, dude, again, the main takeaway, and I wanted to talk, because this is the thing that stood out to me so much when I was watching it. The things that are obvious is the fight scenes are immaculate. The development of characters is really good too. The interestingness of the world is persuaded in a great way of like showing off all of these characters' weird arts and like curse techniques that kind of makes me feel like Hunter x Hunter a little bit, like how they're all kind of different, and cursed energy is just a weird like scaling system that can kind of rear its head in any way, which is really interesting. And then there's Gojo, where you're just like, what the fuck, but also awesome. Like, I like that it shows you the skill ceiling of like, oh no, you can get fucking beyond insanity in this world, which is cool, because a lot of times they're like, you can do some cool shit, but let's not be gods. And it's just like, no, let's be gods. Let's be gods. This is one of the underlying things that I bring up, and it's kind of that rambling mess of me talking about how, like, them hinting at the overarching story, which is that the fact that the main character is going to have to die, and that it's going to, the whole like lead up to that is going to make it meaningful, matter, and the main character is just going to continue to make more friends, and it's going to be even harder for that to happen, because again, I'm sure a lot of the people would be like, you're the last person that should die. Like, I'll die and you should live, because like what your kindness, selflessness, etc. is way more than I could ever give the world. And yeah, and maybe that's the argument that the whole Jesus, sacrificing sins or whatnot, is that of like, well, no, that's bullshit. You absolutely can be that. And in fact, me dying in this way could maybe lead on multiple people, maybe all of the lovely friends that I made along the way, to push even harder to be kind, caring, considerate, and to find the good in the world. And maybe this is a reminder for you to be that way. I don't know what's wrong with them. I'm just, but that could be some shit I learned in manga that maybe made it into the Bible, and now I understand the Bible. Probably not. The underlying thread that I see in the show that I appreciate so much is, the only way I can talk about it is if I just talk about another show that I really enjoy and kind of has other aspects similar to Jujutsu Kaisen in terms of amazing fight styles, very, very cool art style, very, very aesthetically pleasing. But there's one difference, and that's Fire Force. I like Fire Force a lot. I really think it's a beautiful anime, and I really think that there's like a lot of ideas that Fire Force introduces that are fantastic. Like the idea of a main protagonist that kind of has a weird quirk where he always smiles, and that makes just a world of problems for him, because people think he's a demon, and also his power is super, like the idea that your power is the most evil thing possible, but the most virtuous person's wielding that, but that doesn't mean the power doesn't look as like less scary. And I think that's a beautiful idea, and I think it's executed pretty well in the show. But again, Fire Force, Jujutsu Kaisen, I think have very, very similar beats. But the main character in Fire Force, man, he lacks, in my opinion, this is just my thought, I feel like he lacks depth. Like, I love the main character in Jujutsu Kaisen almost immediately. They made him incredibly likable. They gave him depth. They gave him, like, the ability to not be okay with certain things. You could hear his monologue about how he said things or how he thought about things. You could understand immediately with how he kind of grew up because of his grandpa, and that like that couple seconds in season 1 where he brings his grandpa flowers even though his grandpa doesn't want flowers. He chews him out for it. He says nice things to the nurses. They like him. So they already established the kind of person he is with 1,000 different beautiful like background things. But in a show like Fire Force, I mean, I don't know, the character saying I'm the blank guy, or I'm gonna be the blank whatever is it's not enough. You know what I mean? It kind of makes me like, wow, this character looks awesome. His design is the sickest I've ever seen. He's got these crazy fire powers within his feet. Love that. He's special, but his personality is just really one-dimensional, and it makes me not really feel like I want to bet on him. And it's not that I don't like Fire Force, I don't like the main character, it's just that when you're comparing it to Jujutsu Kaisen, you're like, oh no, they fucking made this character really well. And there's so many instances where they make that main character shine, because he is hopeful, he's like the embodiment of life. He's this like incredibly excited about the world, life being this excitement to want to live and to want to see things and to experience things and to focus on the wonder in the world and not the atrocity and sorrow. And even if that is something that exists, to not let that bog down the good that can be possible, So it's one of those things where I think that's a next level thing for Jujutsu Kaisen that I think was just wonderfully done, is the main character. I think it's just, incredible, well done. That's one of the shows where I'm like, this is a test case in how to make a character likable, interesting, and you want to see where the character goes next. But also, again, to reiterate what Jujutsu Kaisen already does well, that I think it was amazing, the fight scenes are fucking metal as hell. I also like that there's so many moments where Jujutsu Kaisen's a great show that doesn't hyper focus into certain things. Like the amount of time that the main character does something astonishing and doesn't it's not contrast by like being like, oh my god, can you believe he sacrificed his hand to do damage? He must be crazy, or some stupid shit. It's just like, yeah, I mean, he's fighting a fucking monster. What I don't even know how anyone's alive here. It's just, what are we talking about? It's like a fucking nonsense thing. Anyways. So again, when like there's so many moments where like the dude will do something astonishing, and like there are a couple of comments of like the main character being like, or the side characters being like, how are you this strong? How can you jump 50 feet in the air? Like, what is happening? And it's all usually meant in like humor and like to try to like seed some underlying like what's going on with the main character. Something's weird outside of the demon inside of him. But yeah, there's like these underlying things. But again, they don't like explicitly say like, oh my god, he's over 9,000. They're like, no, he's weird. And also, just some contrast. There's a moment when Gojo like is training him, and he comes back like halfway through his training, and he realizes that he's basically mastered it. And Gojo says in his head, like, he doesn't say he's mastered the art in 0.1 days. Hey audience, that's amazing, isn't it? That's different. That's hard. It's just like, thank you. Yes. Thank you, Jesus Christ. Instead Gojo's like, neat. Like you're what do you call it? You're quick to learn. All right. And he does things, and then he's like, all right, you're quick to, you got a good sense of battle instinct as well. All right. But he's not like he doesn't break the third wand like, well, guys. Anyways, stupidness aside, yeah, think that's part. I like the subtleness to it. Also, again, the show is, it does so many things subliminally, which I think is why so many people like it. Because a lot of shows, especially anime, have a tendency to be like, check out this character. Oh my god, she's super pretty, but she also wants to kill you. Ooh-wee. Where do you think that's gonna be? Shoo, be careful, she got a knife. Or like, oh, look at this character, she's tiny, but she's feisty. Look at it do its thing. It's fucking weird. And then you're like, thank you. Yes, I understand the things. Whereas Jujutsu Kaisen really doesn't do much of any of that. And if it does, it's like, okay, let's flip it on its head a little bit, or let's make it metal AF. Let's make this girl who is kind of like, quote unquote, forgive me, bitchy, or like aggressive, or like fucking rude, whatever you want to call her. They're like the third main protagonist, the girl with the fucking hammer. Instead of being like, yeah, she's kind of always angry. No, let's actually make her like kind of off. Let's make her take a nail and fucking slam it through her whole hand. Cause that's what it is, baby. She's got this like brassness to her, this kind of like hard demeanor. Let's show this shit off. Let's show that it's not some game. This isn't some sort of fucking nonsense where she's just sitting here being like, I fucking hate you. And then she's like, fuck you, boom. And just a whole goddamn bunch of, also, your bone. You just went straight to the bone. You could have like nicked it in like a way, and instead you were like, let's just fuck me up, bang, right through the whole arm. And I'm just like, fucking Christ. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, Jujutsu Kaisen was great. Jujutsu Kaisen was fantastic. It's one of those shows where, again, I'm thinking back to it and I'm like, that was metal as hell. Love that. Also, when the one dude who like pops off, like the second main protagonist, his like friend with the black hair, kind of like bushy, he's like a special person. He's just shadow magic, whatever. Regardless, when he went into his like, he went like kind of bonkers, that was sick. Because again, it's like, hey, here's this person that's very composed, very deadened, very numb. Well, here's a moment when he uses his weird thing that he just kind of embraces madness and insanity. And like, oh, that's a fun, different trope. Usually it's like, guy who's cold and stoic pushes up glasses and then does something crazy and then walks away like it's nothing. And it's like, all right, well, that's fucking stupid. Anyways. So the fact that they're like, no, let's just get a guy, let's let him break. Let's have him break. Okay? Although I don't know, that's something, a question we have ending on season 1 is, why does the demon inside of the main character want so badly that guy? Like, what's special about him and his like technique where he's like, I'm gonna kill myself? And it's always hilarious where he's like, oh, we're fighting? I'm gonna die. And death. Wait, no death. Okay. I was just like, guy, come on. Jesus, you have a sister. What is happening? You clearly have reasons to live. Lunacy. Anyways, I get the character has his own, like, every character has their own reasons for living and reasons for, like, risking their lives. Also, that's another fantastic thing, is that all of, like, it's like a realistic take on a lot of these things outside of the main character, because I think they're just trying to show that the main character is kind of like a different soul in general. He's a different kind of person, like a rare kind of person. But it does kind of shine a light on like the realistic perception when it comes to some things. Like again, the one girl talks about wanting money, like that's her main driver when this is in this endeavor. And then there's other people. Everyone's motivations seem relatively real, but also their like broken mind also seems real. Like why they think of the world the way they do. All that stuff I think is really awesome. And again, it does seem like a show that is weirdly like in a world where you are fighting horrific monsters. You would either be the most depressed, or you'd have to have a special kind of person that can kind of like shake their mind of that and try to still find the light in the world or the humor in the situation. And Gojo is a perfect example of that. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, me in post and or editing. On the topic of the show doing a really good job about like subverting expectations, where like the tsundere or whatever girl's actually metal as hell and like backs up her actions and etc. Another subverting of expectations was the biggest twist in the whole anime. Not twist, but just like it cements this as a different kind of shonen. And of course, I'm referring to the scene where he makes all this effort to try to save his friend, or his fast friend, I guess I'll say that, because they were friends really quickly. But the demon inside of the main character cements himself as like, no, bitch, I'm not gonna play games with you. I'm not your friend. I'm not gonna be there. I'm not gonna pull you from the fire. I'll dunk your ass in. Like, you are only as good as the value you give to me, which is horrific and brutal. And but also, again, the art style really gets set off by that kind of cruel twist. And also the cruel twists you can kind of see them coming. Like, they're in no way, I guess there's a little bit hint sometimes, but I think it's just because I'm used to seeing it in other shonens where like the big demon inside of you is actually not the worst, or he grows a liking to you. And in this show, it's not that at all, my guy. He is not okay with anybody. Anyways, sorry to mention that. It's one of the better twists in shows I've seen, and also it's executed quite well, and it's also backed by an amazing fight scene that's just chaos. Like the main character's getting like pincered, or like it turns into a pincushion and is still moving forward, which is really cool. But of course, yeah, much loved, appreciated that part of the show as well, and on with it. Show was fucking fire, absolutely wonderful. And lastly, we have the question. Sorry, I didn't mean to rant that much about the good points about the show, but there's a lot of them, and I missed a lot. Yes. Regardless, third thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about, the reason why I wanted to make this video is because we did it in Tower of God, where I kind of talked about where the story is going to go next, but I didn't try to spoil everything. I just tried to kind of give you guys bullet points to know like what's happening. Jujutsu Kaisen isn't quite like that, because there's nothing too like we weren't left on like cliffhanger, but I still want to give you guys a little bit of an update what's about to happen. Essentially, apparently in season 2, or the next chapter batch, it's gonna have to do with Gojo and them going to investigate. I think it's a tower that is filled with people demanding to see Gojo, and the team that is sent to go in to this tower is the main character. The main character, and I'm not sure if it's all three of them or if it's just the main character with the demon in him. But he's basically tasked with going into this building that is filled with demons, or not demons, or curses. And yeah, that's like the next batch, and apparently a lot of stuff happens in there. And yeah, again, I think another underlying thread is that it was made by the weird like cursed guy who looks like a human. He's got like the weird scar on his face, or the lines. It was made by him, I think, and he wants to talk to Gojo. Apparently they have a past, and in that past we will see that past in the movie, which makes sense that the movie is going to come out first, and although it's a prequel, it will kind of set up the season 2 and why these two have issues. And yeah, but basically the main character is going to go into a tower filled with curses, and I think it's just going to stay there for like probably 8 episodes, which is going to be pretty awesome. Just like fight after fight, crazy shit after crazy shit. Going to be pretty cool to see. Also, I do think there's a tiny time bump to where now the characters probably have a little more grasp on certain things, and where they're kind of just figuring things out. That's probably set in, but we'll see. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we're going to go into a tower full of curses with the main character and try to figure out what's going to happen. It's probably a chat for Gojo, because that's what they've been hinting at in Season 1. But that's all I read from 2 articles that kind of mentioned what's going to come from after the fact. But yes, I don't want to spoil any more, because, yeah, I do know a little more. I could be wrong also. Again, this is me like reading with one eye to try to not get as much in, which I know is not how that works. I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you enjoy your time. Also, if you guys haven't checked out Jujutsu Kaisen, again, I would highly advise it. I think it's lovely, a fantastic series with amazing fight scenes at the very base. But I think it's true. The thing that it does better than most shows that I've seen, at least in recent memory, is it sells a character too well. Like it does, the main character is sold in a really, really good way. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Like I said, also we do this constantly. At this point, I'm burning through shows because we're just having more time recently. And yeah, I've been getting after them shows. Also, I've been able to make videos with relative ease right now. Sometimes we go through like an uncreative phase where I'm not good at it, and it's rough. But right now, pretty creative, so I've been able to watch more shows because I've had days where videos are taken care of. But yes, we will continue to do this. We will always do stuff like this. Again, it's just basically talking about the shows we find interesting and enjoy, or at least the shows I'm watching at the current moment, that I can do that, and I can share that with you guys. Hence the name, Share Your Grin. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys do enjoy the rest of your day, as well as if anyone liked or shared this video around, thank you so much. Appreciate you a lot, and goodbye. Little clunky at the end there, but bye.